Hello once again to a series editor tutorial. As I mentioned in the last episode, this time we'll be covering how to create your own cutscenes. I will explain how to set up animations for a custom camera and walk you through the process of creating a relatively simple cutscene. Let's talk about how these cutscenes work in theory. Every cutscene can have several requirements, but only one is necessary in absolutely every scenario, which is the camera entity. With the camera entity, you can control the view flow of the cutscene you are making, and the process of doing so can be both easier than you think or harder than you can imagine. Let's start off simple. Go to the entity list and under the camera tab, select camera and drag and drop that into the world. This blue thing that somewhat resembles a professional video camera is your camera entity. When we go into the entity tab of the camera, you'll see quite a few settings. However, you won't be touching these most of the time. But there is one thing you absolutely need to change for the sake of convenience. You need to tick relative path here. If you don't tick this, your camera will always start from the world origin point, and it becomes incredibly tricky to sync the view. Another setting that's worthwhile to change is the default FOV, standing for field of view. Set it to something like 90, I believe, is the default field of view for most games. Now it'll automatically set the field of view to this value in all animations you create from that point forward. And other than that, you likely shouldn't change anything in these settings, unless of course you know what you're doing. Let's add in an animation for our camera. Press E with the camera entity selected and you will be in the animation editor for the camera. Adding in an animation for the camera here works much like the animated mover, which we discussed in episode 3 of this series. So, here we go to Actions, Create New Anim Set, give that normal name, and then Actions, Create Animations. Let's give this a name that will be Circle Around. We're going to make an animation that circles around this cube that I've made here for practice purposes. Now, when you go to the envelopes, you'll see 3 options here: Camera, Master, and Target. All you need to select is the camera envelope. You won't be needing the others. Press OK. And now this cube and pyramid-like structure that should appear as a white wireframe now, that is your camera envelope. Now as practice, we're going to try to make this camera circle around this cube here. Then go over it. Defining the camera path works as you'd expect, the same as defining animations. Let's just take this as our starting point. Press enter and then OK. Now move the camera around as you normally would. And try to make a circle-like shape around the cube. Again, to move around, hold down Control and you can control these arrows to change your position. Alright. And upon pressing enter, when you have a new frame, make sure you increment the frame counter, like so. Alright, and now just do that for every single frame. I'm gonna speed this up in editing. And when you make the last, when you think you've completed the circle, you should see a gray line going around the cube. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. But you need to make sure that the last frame you make has the same properties for the channel values and such, which are all these settings, as the first frame. So just select frame 0, give it the number 8, and then alright, and now the animation should be a full circle. After that is done, go to the animation tab. If it doesn't show up for you, press Alt and then 1. And here, set the last frames to the amount of recorded frames you have. So in my case I have 9 frames, so I should set the last frame to 8. Alright. In sec per frame, you'll control the total time the animation has to play. Let's say we wanted ours to take 4 seconds, so 4 divided by 9, well let's just say 4 divided by 8 is 0.5 seconds. Alright, now that we have something of the circle, we'll start to preview this in game, but we'll have to actually tell the game to play the animation first. So, like in episode 3, go under logic and drag and drop a script entity into the world. And again, by pressing E, we'll open the script editor. Then type in exactly what I type here: camera, play, anim, wait. and then some quotation marks here, and in these quotation marks is the name of your animation, which is in our case circle around. And now you have to select the camera and then Control, Shift and Alt and then drag it onto the text saying camera. Alright, and now once you have done that, save and then test by pressing T. And let's see how our animation looks. Well, the animation looked okay, but as you can see it kind of clipped through the floor, so we'll just move it up a little. Alright, let's try that again. Much better. Alright, and for practice, we'll also make it go over the cube, but this time we'll use a different method to create the animation. Let's go into the animation editor again and create a new animation called fly over. Alright, in the animation tab, we need 5 frames, so set the last frame to 4 and sec per frame to 1. And again, don't forget to add the camera envelope and create an animation at frame 0. Now instead of using the axis that you open up by holding Control, press the Y button. You are now actually seeing a preview of the camera and you can move it around with the regular movement controls. Now like this, we can create a far more flexible camera path, especially one like ours that needs rotation since we're going over the cube. So let's do that now. Alright. Press escape to exit the free view. Frame number 1, move again. Frame number 2, 3, and 4. Once you're finished, press Y again, and you'll be able to see the path you created. It's not perfect, but it'll do for the purpose of this tutorial. Alright, now back into the script entity, put the same line, copy this line, change the name to fly over, and now in between these two lines we'll need to tell the entity to wait for the first animation to finish. Do so by adding in wait event camera dot animation finished, and this is a wait filter for when this first animation has finished, then it will start playing this one. Alright, let's save and test this. Oh, looks great. One last animation to make, but one that's also pretty important for a cinematic feel, a zoom in animation. Let's create a new animation. Let's call it zoom in. In the animation tab, give it 2 frames only, so last frame 1, and seconds per frame, let's say 3, so the animation will take 3 seconds. And now under tools, which is accessed by pressing the Q key. Oh, don't forget to add the envelope first, of course. Alright, and now you'll see all these channel values. Collapse camera val.fov, and let's give it a smaller value, let's say 40. Alright, press enter, frame number 1, and don't forget to create the first frame as well. Alright, and now once again in the script add in the necessary lines. I'll just copy this one over, change the animation name. Alright, let's see how this works. And as you can see, it zooms in because it is literally decreasing the field of view over a period of time, which we have set as 3 seconds. So you can use all these methods combined to create a pretty good cutscene, I hope. There are also some other channel values you can edit, like fade, which I'll show off in a bit. This is useful for fade in and fade out effects. And well, the others you probably won't touch them a lot. I've tried experimenting with them and don't really have any noticeable effects, but you can try some of them out if you wish to experiment with them a little. Now let's get into some more complex cutscene creation. We're going to rewrite our script for this. I'll put some text in the description, which you should copy paste into here. Let me just fetch it. like that. Alright, so before you do anything, you need to select the script entity and then Control Shift and Alt the script onto the thisScript variable. And if you have a chapter info, which you should, because when the chapter info starts, when you have it start, then the cutscene will start. So you just Control Shift Alt the chapter info entity onto the currentChapter variable. If you don't know how to set up a chapter info entity, all that is explained in the first episode of this series. Alright, so we'll actually start making our cutscene now. For models that are specific to cutscenes, I highly recommend using the cutscequence model entity, as it is optimized for this kind of application. So under Entity List, collapse Tools, and drag drop the cutscequence model into the world. I'm gonna put it on this cube here. Let's use the Serious Sam model here as an example. I've already browsed to it. Alright. Let's go through its animations by opening the animation editor and see what we can use. Hello? Yes, thank you. Alright. Cut sequences. Oh my god. Sorry about that, but oh my god. I found a relatively I found a hammering animation, but what kind of animation you're using really depends on what the context of your cutscene that you're making is. This one doesn't really need one because it's a tutorial, so I'll just use this hammering animation. Alright. Alright, time to make our cutscene. Go back into the script and just follow what I type. Sam : a bear, and then Control Shift Alt the Sam entity onto the Sam variable, but I've already done that. What this does is it makes every cut sequence model needs to be loaded in before it can actually appear. So with this command line we'll do just that. Now type Sam : new cloned state with a 0 between the parentheses. What this does is it loads in all the animations that Sam has here, so we can use them. Now type Sam add animation, and then in quotation marks the name of the animation you want to use, in our case hammering. And now type in true, false, 2, and then 1 with commas in between. This first boolean defines if the animation is looping or not. In our case we want that to happen. The second boolean, which I've set to false, is whether the animation is played in reverse or not. The first integer, which is the speed of the animation, and the second integer is the strength of the animation. You can change all these values however you like. Alright, now let's copy in this code into the cutscene script. There we go. Now let's say I wanted to add in a sound or a voiceover. Well, that can be done. Go into the entity list and then under the effects folder, here is a static sound. Drag and drop that into the world. In the entity parameters for the static sounds, you'll have to uncheck looping because we don't want it to loop, we want it to play once. Uncheck autoplay as well, and set control from scripting to cutscene scripting. Okay, now let's select a sound. You can pick any sound from the WAV or MP3 or OGG formats. I've already decided on which one I want. I think it's quite fitting for the animation I have.
Damn, I like my job.
Pro tip, if you want to preview sound files or texture files, you can hold down F3 on the sound file or texture file like so.
Crow team owns. Cool.
Alright, now go back into the script. And let's say we wanted it to play here, so type sound play once. Select the sound, Control Shift and Alt, and drag it onto the sound variable, and a delay of 1 second before it plays, like that. Alright, and also add in here at the end. Wait, now I can just copy this. And then Sam : disappear, so we can unload the model again and it won't show up outside cutscenes. Alright, let's test it one more time.
Damn, I like my job.
Appears to work just fine. Well, I think that covers everything that is essential to know about cutscene creation. If there was something that you didn't think was very clear, or if there's something more you'd like to know, then You can leave a comment below in the comment section. Where else do comments go, truthfully? And I will answer the questions to the best of my abilities. Well, that's basically it for this episode. If you have any suggestions, you can for new episodes, you can leave them in the comments below. And if there's anything frequently requested, then I'll do an episode on that. So thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something today. Make a movie with this new knowledge, and I hope to see you in the next episode, which should be in 1 or 2 weeks.